Hey y'all, so the Sundance Film Festival is currently going on in Park City, Utah. Now, I couldn't attend the festival because, well, money, but I was able to snag a few tickets for online screenings they're holding for movies being played there. So for the next week, I'm going to be covering 7 movies that I bought tickets for. Being able to go to Sundance one day is absolutely a bucket list item for me, but you know what? I just feel lucky that I get to even watch these movies being premiered there right now. So the first movie that I decided to watch for the festival this year is called Sometimes I Think About Dying. This film is about Fran, played by Daisy Ridley, who is a socially awkward office worker. When we open the film, she rarely speaks. You could probably count the number of times she spoke on one hand through the first 20 minutes of the movie. She barely speaks. She basically spends her day at the office filling out spreadsheets, not talking to her coworkers, going home, cooking, watching a little TV, and going to bed at a very respectable 10:15. The only thing is, like the film's title, sometimes Fran thinks about what it would be like to die. So obviously there's a lot of intense feelings for this character, but she never shows it. Fran doesn't really put in an attempt to connect with anyone in or outside of work. At work, she doesn't speak to anyone, and whenever she's done with work, she literally just goes home. Her weekends are spent just chilling at her house alone, and really nothing's going on with her in terms of social interaction. That is until a new coworker comes into the scene and starts pushing Fran a little bit outside of her comfort zone. This movie takes place on the Oregon coast, and I just have to say I have a soft spot in my heart for the Pacific Northwest. So, as you can imagine, I loved the way that this film looked. I also felt like the backdrop of a small town in Oregon paired very nicely with the office environment set up in the film. This film got the office environment right to a scary level for me. The only thing that didn't seem realistic was, you're telling me a new coworker is basically going to ask out someone on their second day there, unless there's a time jump that I just missed, on their second day there? That's a bit of a bold strategy. But other than that, right down to the small interactions that people have throughout the day, it felt very realistic. While that's a good environment for some people, you can see the discomfort for Fran throughout the day. There are many shots where you just see Fran's hands shake a little bit or fidget, and it tells you everything you need to know about how she feels whenever her coworkers are talking around her, and she feels like an obligation to chime in, but she just can't. And I thought that that was a really good touch. It told the viewer everything we need to know because, like I said, Fran doesn't really wear her emotions on her face. So with those shots of her hand, it gets across to us that this character has some serious anxiety. Even though she doesn't express her emotions in a way that most people do, she's still a person. So the backdrop of the Pacific Northwest, I felt paired extremely nicely with Fran's view of her office environment, despite the fact that she actually really likes what she does. This is a film that's going to catch flack for being slow, and while I will say I have issues with the film's pacing, I feel like it makes it worth the wait whenever you start to see Fran's emotions shine through. Whether it's her legs shaking on a day or a very, very small smile, the wait for her to do or show something makes you feel joy whenever she is showing a little glimpse that she's happy or whenever she's connecting with someone else. And that feeling of connection is ultimately what this movie is about for me. Fran is a very shy, reserved person, so it's not natural for her to make small talk. What it takes for her is someone taking her hand, making her feel safe, and assisting her to pursue a connection with others. It makes you think about the people who struggle like Fran does in this film to find connection with others in their own way, despite the fact that we've technically never been more connected as a society. I was first interested in this project whenever I found out that Daisy Ridley was attached. She, of course, played Rey in the most recent Star Wars trilogy and hasn't really done much since then. I wanted to see her flex her dramatic acting muscles here and kind of get a sense if she's going to be able to move on past that Star Wars phase of her career. And I am overwhelmingly happy to say that Ridley is great. in this movie. This film would not work if the actress playing Fran cannot get across her angst without it seeming knowingly rude to other people. And Ridley nailed that here. She doesn't speak a ton in this movie, so a lot of the acting is through her facial expressions as well as body language, which is extremely hard for an actor, and she absolutely crushed it. And I gotta say, for the times that she does speak, you would never know that this girl was from England, so good on her. I hope that Ridley can continue to deliver performances like hers in this film, because if this is where she's starting from in her dramatic phase of her career, sky's the limit in my opinion. Now, I did have problems with the pacing of the film. Like I said before, it is pretty slow. It does pay off with the character work that they do here, but I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't sitting there at the 35-minute mark wondering when the plot was going to begin. It's actually kind of a short film. It's sitting there at 91 minutes, and I feel like we needed a little bit more time to see Fran and her coworker's relationship develop. And it felt pretty rushed. For the first 35 minutes, we're getting accustomed to Fran. You know, that's very important for her character. I totally get it. But at that point, we only have 53 more minutes to wrap up the movie and completely tie up this plot with her and her coworker. And I felt like we just needed more time to see that develop and really see that connection that Fran feels with him. And there were a couple of things that Fran either said or did in this film that I just didn't feel made sense for her character. I can see her doing something whenever we are given a little bit more time with her and her coworker, but there's something that she says that feels so out of left field for her character and made me second guess the character that I had been following at that point in the film. I may just need to sit with the film a little bit longer and analyze her character more thoroughly, but while I was watching that film, it felt pretty jarring whenever she said a very specific line here. I do want to highlight a supporting actress in this film, Marcia DeBonis. She played one of Fran's co-workers in the film, and she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but she is great whenever she's on screen. In particular, a scene near the end of the film that she has with Fran, I thought that DeBonis was particularly excellent there. So I didn't want to end this video without highlighting her, because it was a noticeable, very good performance from someone that doesn't have a Wikipedia page. So good on you, Marcia DeBonis. Overall, I think director Rachel Lambert delivered a very well handled, slow burn movie with a whole lot of heart. I couldn't help but feel happy for Fran anytime that we got a glimpse of her having some sort of joy in the film. It gave me a side of Daisy Ridley that I hadn't seen before, and I hope to see again very soon. This was a great start to Sundance for me and was exactly what I wanted going into the film. Thanks so much for watching this video today, you guys, and be sure to stay tuned for more coverage on the Sundance Film Festival that I have in the next week. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you guys next time.